Good morning, Year 4. We're back again for Thursday's English lesson today. And you can see today we're going to be thinking about the author's description in the story. So we're going to be looking quite heavily in the way that the author has written the words on the page today in order for you to get a picture in your head. Now, you'll know from looking at the videos so far when Miss Eddleston's been reading you the story that there are no pictures in this story. So today you are going to have a go at drawing one of those pictures in the story. And you're going to be thinking about exactly what that place might have looked like based on the words that the author has decided to put on the page. Okay, so before we get started with our next chapter today, I want us to think about where we got up to yesterday. I know that you will have heard chapter 2 yesterday. It was called Rockpool. Let's just have a quick recap as to what happened. So we'll remember Bjorn was searching for food, and he was deciding, could he be brave enough to go back down to the village to look for the food, but he knew that he'd be caught, so he couldn't. So he was scavenging for food around the rock pools, wasn't he, and seeing if anything he could find. By this time he was starving. He really needed to eat something. However, as he was scavenging for food in the rock pools, who should be standing above him but Glam? That monster that he's been running away from was there, and he had found him. And we know that he wants Bjorn to be his slave. So he grabbed Bjorn to try to take him back to the village, and he said he was going to give him the biggest of beatings that he would have ever have felt. Luckily, Bjorn was able to escape his grasp, and he did. He wriggled free and he ran as fast as he could down the hillside to escape Glam, and Glam was chasing after him. Okay, right at the end of this chapter, we were introduced to a stranger. I'm just going to reread you. I've got the text here. I'm just going to reread you the last part of that chapter where we were introduced to that stranger, because I want you to be thinking about who might this stranger be. So they reached the beach together, and Glam was already grasping out to hold the boy by the hair when a loud voice shouted out, "What fool's tricks are these? Speak, or by Odin, I'll skewer you both." Bjorn looked up, and then his heart almost jumped out of his chest. A big ship was beached just round the rock, not more than 10 paces away, and before it was the tallest man he had ever seen. In his right hand he held a thick shafted ash spear, as though it were a twig. So we know it's not Glam. That stranger can't be Glam, because Glam was already chasing Bjorn. This is somebody that Bjorn has never seen before. Who do we think it might be? Do you think he's going to be a friend? Or do you think he might be dangerous? Do you think he might be an enemy? He sounds quite fierce, doesn't he? I want you to just have a chat with somebody to share your ideas. Who might that stranger be? And what do you think they're going to do next? Pause the video now. Okay, so we're going to move on to chapter 3. You'll find chapter 3 on YouTube for you to listen to, which you'll head over in just a moment to do that. In chapter 3, you'll see the title of the chapter is called Man with a Spear. And as we read chapter 3, we're going to hear a little bit more about that man that we were introduced to, that stranger, at the end of chapter 2. We're also going to hear a little bit more about that ship. Okay, we heard that there was a ship 10 paces away, and also his crew, and one person in his crew in particular is who we're going to focus on. Okay, so while you're listening to the video, to Miss Eddleston reading, I want you to pause the YouTube video each time you hear something about the man, the ship, or his crew. And I want you to jot the ideas down. So on the Google Drive, you're going to find the document that looks a bit like this. Okay, so while Miss Eddleston's reading, if you hear something about Starcad, that's the name of the man, that stranger that we've just been introduced to. Okay, anything about him, I want you to jot it down. Okay, anything about Reindeer, that's the name of the longship. Okay, the big boat. There's not a lot in the chapter, but what can you hear? The long ship that we hear. And then anything about the Earl Scallagrim, and that is somebody in the crew, okay? Somebody that's on that ship. So I want you to be listening out. You can keep pausing the video from Miss Eddleston to help you to make those notes, okay? When you've listened to all of chapter 3, I want you to come back to me to see how you got on. Pause now. Okay, welcome back. Did you enjoy chapter 3? It's a good one, isn't it? It starts getting very, very dramatic. So just to sum up what you've just heard in chapter 3, we know that Bjorn was saved just as Glam was about to beat him or take him back to the village in order to be his slave. We know Starkad has saved him. I wonder what ideas you came up with in order to describe Starkad. Let's have a look at the text together and see what ideas you came up with. So right at the beginning of the chapter, we know it describes him as having a dull iron helmet. So I know he has that on his head, okay, a dull iron helmet. I can also see in the text that he has gold rings on his fingers. Okay, so I'm already starting to get an image of exactly what this man Starkad looks like. Okay, it says that he looked like a god. Now you might want to be jotting the ideas down on your page at the same time as well. Okay, he looked like a god. And if you've got other ones than these, fantastic, well done. But by all means, jot these down while we're going. It also said that his hair was a rusty red. His hair was a rusty red colour, okay? And he had a square beard. There was lots more as well that described Starkad. In fact, it was talked about his eyes as well, the pure size of him, exactly how he acts as well. So I'm sure you've got lots more ideas in your table as well. Okay, let's move on to reindeer. Now I know from the end of chapter 2, it said that it was a big ship. Okay, so I'm getting an idea in my head of what that might look like. Okay, and it was beached on the shore. So it wasn't moving. Okay, it's almost like it's waiting for Starkad to come back. Okay, so it was beached on the shore. Let's keep going through as I move further through the chapter. Oh, it also says that on the ship there were many men, all in iron helmets, holding spears. All in iron helmets. Oops, that's not in. All in iron helmets. Let's just make sure that stays in my column there. All in iron helmets, holding spears. Okay. And then as I continue reading through, I can see that it starts to move on to describing a crew member, which we know goes by the name of Earl Scallagrim. Okay, and he was very tall and thin. Okay, so I'm starting to get an idea of what he looks like in my head as well. He had long grey plaits. Long grey plaits on either side of his head. I'm going to need to move me over in a minute, aren't I? Oh dear, another spelling mistake. On either side of his head. Let's move me over. What else do we know about Earl Scallagrim? He wore a bronze-studded belt. So I'm starting to get that idea as well. I can see what that might look like in my head. A bronze-studded belt. I can also see he was wearing a heavy cloak. Let's put that as a new idea lower down. A heavy cloak. A heavy cloak of red wool. Okay, and again there was lots more as well that was described about him. So I could continue adding there, but I'm sure yours is even more full. Your table is even more fuller than mine. So now that you've got lots and lots of ideas, and you can use my ideas as well to help you, I want you to show your understanding of the story. And you are going to be using the words that the author had put on the page, the words that you've now got on your table, okay? I want you to draw that image today. I want you to become the illustrator of the story. And you are going to use the words and phrases, the description that you've jotted down in that table to draw a detailed picture of what that scene looks like. Make sure you're including Starcad in there and all the detail around him. We know that Starcad's not on the boat. We know that Starcad is on the shore. Okay, so you think about where this scene will be as well. What else will be needed in your picture? We also know that the ship was kind of beached on the shore a little way away from where he was stood. And I know you can use your knowledge from your history lessons to help you with what that long ship might look like. Okay, so think about that as well. And also on that ship, there was the king, or Earl Scalagrim. Okay, and I want you to draw exactly the detail in him as well, using the description in the text. So by the end of the session, you will have a beautiful, I know how creative you all are, a beautiful picture showing exactly what that scene would look like where you have used the words and description from the text. Okay, can't wait to see them. Take care, see you tomorrow.